I'm Lisa Dazols.
And I'm Jenni Chang. And we are Americans who are from San Francisco, but currently we live in Zurich, Switzerland, with our 1-year-old Charlie, Charlie Grace.
How did the two of you met?
We met on a bike ride. We're doing a AIDS fundraiser, and we met during a training ride.
So when you were a child, were you thinking of having children, and did you imagine it would be a rainbow family?
You know, I never really imagined, I never imagined I could be as happy as I am now. I didn't imagine that I could actually have a family in the way that we do. And so I feel very fortunate, actually, that we've had the access and the support to have the family that we do today. So it's hard to imagine that you went from something that was criminalized to now having the full rights that we do.
So I grew up in a very religious household, and I think I was quite sheltered in the way that I thought. So in that sense, I always assumed that I would be married to a man, we would have 2 children, have a house, 2 cars, and the, I guess, typical life. So I always assumed that I would have children. And then when I came out to myself and to my family and to the outside world when I was in my early 20s, I don't know, maybe I was naive in that way, but I just thought, well, I'm going to still have a family. So I think in my head, I always was quite confident that I would have a family someday.
Talking about the family, what is a family for you?
Wow, these are good questions. It's amazing just to have a spouse. Like, that's amazing enough. But it just makes it so much more joyful to actually have a family as well. I just think it's an extension of our love and ourselves, an extension of my family, which feels really full circle and wonderful.
But yeah, I guess a family for me means, somebody with whom I have a lifelong commitment. And then, yes, it means children for me.
But do you think biology has something to do with family, or it's more love? Or...
I've seen kids in all forms, like including, forms like us or adopted families who are not have any biological connection, and they're just families.
Yeah, having no biological connection to my daughter. I feel like we thought about it. It came up a lot before she was born.
Yeah.
But once Jenni was pregnant and once Charlie was born, it's like, you're wiping this kid's butt at 2 a.m. Your family. It's like I rarely think about it.
Can you tell us how Charlie was born and the story of Charlie's birth? How you created Charlie?
So Charlie came into our lives. It took...
Charlie came to our lives. We made Charlie.
Yeah, we made Charlie.
It was an intentional
It was a very
act.
big, focused project.
Yes.
It took about 2 years. And it took many different forms. It started with, we asked one friend, a gay guy who we had known I had known for many, many years, if he wanted to be an uncle figure and a sperm donor. And it was about 6 months of conversation. And for him, it just wasn't the right fit. It wasn't the right moment in his life. He was a little afraid of either being too close, too attached to the child, or worrying about not having much of a relationship with the child. And so from there we went to having a sperm donor, or just going to the sperm bank. And then about a year later, we had tried probably 5 times, and it hadn't taken. We had tried through IUIs, which is going to the doctor and putting sperm all the way up to the uterus. I don't know if that's too much information, but and then we had a straight friend approach us, actually his wife, and they wanted to be a donor, and so we went again through probably 2 months of conversation. This time we kind of sped up the process a little bit. And it was a good match for them, but it wasn't a good match for their extended family. and it got pretty complicated and stressful for them. It just didn't quite feel right for us. We really wanted to bring this baby in with a lot of joy and love, and we didn't want, as much as we wanted him as a donor, we didn't want to complicate his life, and it just wasn't the right time. So we went back to the bank, and I mean, the sperm bank was easy. I gotta say, in the States, we spent quite a bit of time looking at different donors, listening to their audio profile. You hear them talk for about 10 minutes as an adult, so you get a sense of their personality. You see their baby pictures. The sperm literally comes in the mail. You just, so we chose a donor who we thought, met kind of the right qualifications that we wanted. And it did feel like a gift. It felt like, we don't know this person. It's a non-anonymous donor, so at age 18, Charlie could contact him. There'll be 10 other families who can use this donor's sperm, so Charlie won't have this very unique, most likely will not have a really unique relationship with him, but she can also get in touch with the other families and the other children. So once we did that, we tried a total of 8 times where we tried IUIs, and at that point the doctor said she recommended IVF. And so then we did IVF, and it took on the first time. And once Jenni was pregnant, it just really felt like, you just kind of go to the normal doctor. You're no longer struggling to get fertility rights or fertility coverage. It really just feels like, okay, you're pregnant, and now you're in this bucket of like every other normal pregnancy and family. And from there, it actually wasn't very stressful.
Good. So, are you both the legal parents of the child? Is it allowed in your country?
Yeah, both of our names are actually on the birth certificate, so we're both listed as parents.
What does a typical day look like in your family? What are your favorite activities with Charlie? Your best memory with Charlie right now?
So I'm full-time working, and Lisa's full-time at home with Charlie. So that's our family situation. So a typical work day.
We say breakfast is the new dinner.
Yeah.
Because Charlie gets up early, and it's kind of the time that we have the most control over. So we do a big hot breakfast.
Probably like half an hour we'll sit together. Yeah.
Jenni plays with Charlie before work, has a little special time with Charlie. From there we're just like, Charlie and I go to the gym. She spends some time playing with the other kids. I meet up with other parents at the playground. We go to music class together. We often travel with Jenni for work. So if she goes to another city for work, we tag along. But yeah, the first year of Charlie's life has been really exciting. A lot of milestones, and we've been able to have the time to really enjoy them.
Are your friends and families okay with your situation in your family?
My parents, it's been an evolution. So when I first came out, how long ago now? Over a
10
decade?
minutes.
Gosh, old. Okay, so over a decade ago, they flipped out. And, they suggested I need to leave the country and go back to Taiwan. I need to go to church. I don't know. They were very upset. I was living at home at the time. This is in my early 20s, and I left and I moved out. And it was a very, it was a very pivotal point in my life, not just with my parents, but with my personal life, because my whole community was involved with the church at the time. And so I lost all of that. So it was just several years of just a big mess. And during that time, my parents first tried everything they could to stop me. And then when that failed, they went into a phase where they just refused to talk about it. And that lasted for several years. So I suppose went into denial. And then when Lisa and I started dating, I think, again, they were still hoping I would change. But then what really, I think, made them realize that they either had to accept it or they were going to lose their relationship with me is when we got married. So even though, and this is why, again, the marriage is so important, right? Like even people who are against homosexual relationships, like there is a respect for marriage. And I think my parents, despite how they felt about it, they still respected marriage. To them, it was like a final. You know, it was like, okay, I guess my daughter has made this decision. There's nothing I can do to change her mind. And then from that point, it became a point of, I think, a little bit of release in both of our relationships. And of course, the point, you know, everyone told me like, okay, after you have your child, after you have a kid, everything's going to change. And I was like, no, you don't understand. My parents are very stubborn. It's been a decade. They haven't changed. But it actually really did for them. I think they really, you know, just came to the point where they're like, they wanted to have me in their life, they wanted to have their grandchild in life, and they realized that the only way to do this was to accept us. And so now, I mean, yes, it's still a work in progress. It's only been this last year that for the first time we had a family holiday together. But it's, you know, I never could have even imagined this point 10 years ago. And you? No problem.
Yeah. Okay, my last question would be, do you have any advice for LGBT couples who are still hesitating or about to become parents?
I mean, I think the most stressful part is obviously getting a child. So, like, I mean, there were definitely times we were wanting to give up. I mean, it was very expensive. It was not easy. It was, you know, every month was a roller coaster of like, you know, are you going to be pregnant? Are you not? There was like a lot of hormones.
A lot of hormones.
There was a lot of fighting.
A lot of money.
But it's worth it. So,
yeah. I mean, I think, well, I do think like there's no pressure either. Like I think that you can be happy with or without kids. It's just your choice. You know, there's definitely been friends of ours who've considered and chosen not to have kids. I don't think they're not going to be any less happy. But if you do want it, you know, if you do want children, which for us we both did, like I think my one advice is if you want it, you know, really, really believe and know that it will happen. That you might have to be flexible in how it happens, but that it will happen. I think during the journey of trying to get pregnant, I tried, every time it failed, all the IUIs that failed in the beginning, I would try to tell myself, maybe I'm okay if I don't have a kid. Like I tried to tell myself, try to lower my hopes to make myself feel better when it didn't work. But that actually doesn't work. Like basically I would spend like the entire time trying to psych myself down. And then of course, when I got the negative pregnancy test, I was still disappointed. So it didn't work. And then finally I'm like, forget it. It's like, I'm going to have a child one way or another. It's going to happen. If this doesn't work, maybe we, you know, have to use, I don't know, another egg or a surrogate or adoption. Like there are many, many ways to have a child if you really want one. So I would say like, just establish this as your vision and don't give up. And like there, you know, again, like 10 years ago, I never would have imagined that I would be okay using a sperm donor, but you will get to kind of accept different ways of doing it. And when the baby comes, doesn't matter how they come, you're going to love that kid.